All right. All right. Welcome back, everyone. And we just finished the very good CoinGeek. So I'm now back with Dr. Craig Wright, who's the inventor of Bitcoin. And we'll just continue the class. So what's the topic today, Doctor?
Okay, so want to go over and just discuss a couple areas. One that's been out there, which is the notion of zero sat, but also the notion of off-chain and how all this works. So before we run off, try and have all of these sort of ideas sort of set and understood. So the concept people are not getting is that Bitcoin's a commodity product, and that's very important. Now, when I say commodity, I mean there's an underlying digital asset that is the token. It's an economic system, and you are paying miners to compete to get something. The miners don't control the network like some people try and make out. The miners can enforce rules, they don't create them, they don't change them. The aspect of what miners do is they sort of compete for a prize, unilateral contract, and that means miners can come and go at will. And this is an important concept to understand how Bitcoin is secure and robust. If you have 5 miners, each of them equal with 20% of the network, then imagine now that one of them's attacked. Can you tell me what happens to the network?
I think he at least temporarily goes offline, and then for the rest of the guys, they earn more revenue in the meantime.
Yeah, so one guy disappears. Now you end up with 80% of the hash power, of the network power, chasing the equivalent amount of money. So we have 100%. So we have now a 25% premium on our profitability, because your investment's going to stay the same. The amount of electricity you're expending can stay the same. And now you have a 25% premium. You can either ramp up what you're doing, or it will attract others into the industry. So when someone sees, oh, look, there's a gap here, they're going to come and exploit it. The reality will be that there'll be lots of little long tail type effect miners. So you might have 3 or 4 big miners, but sitting there in the wings waiting for something to go wrong, you'll probably find 20 or 30 small guys. Now, even if they only individually double, during the time when, say, one party's been attacked or gone offline or something like this, what you're now going to find is all those other players start making more profit. And 25% is a lot of additional profit, especially when machines, like the systems, become more mature.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't imagine any business like you have this. Just you are not changing anything. You are doing the same amount of work. Then you suddenly
and you get extra money.
25%. I
Exactly.
think if I'm some outsider, I'd probably just jump in and try to compete.
Exactly. So as I said, there'll always be small players waiting for opportunities, and the failure of one provides opportunities that will be grabbed and taken. Now, this is an important aspect of Bitcoin that is not available in things like proof of stake.
So
now,
can
I want
you to elaborate, what will happen if this happens in proof of stake system, let's say?
Okay, so imagine now that you have 30% of the network is being attacked.
Okay.
That 30%, if they're online but no longer viable, still has the ability to service what they're doing, or just drop out, but no one else gets to do it. There's no replacement.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't get to buy in. So imagine again, there are, say, 10 sort of validators out there, each who owns 10% of the network.
Okay.
Guess what happens?
It just
Nothing.
capacity
I
just
mean,
dropped to
yeah, the
70%.
capacity drops. So you can say, oh, but you'll earn more, but you won't, because you have to have staked coins. So there won't suddenly be staked coins. There won't suddenly be people with spare money. There won't suddenly be people issued Ethereum to come in there and do the job.
So also do this 30% who got attacked and taken offline, when they come back, they still get the lost revenue, is it?
They'll get some of it, yes.
Okay.
Now, as such, do you see any incentive to invest to maintain the security of your network?
Not much, at least if I'm getting knocked off, get a DDoS attack, and then I'm still earning, that's not much reason for me to upgrade.
Or if someone splits it or anything else, there's no purpose in doing things. So let's take it a bit further. If I'm a 20% proof of work miner, and I have to invest now to make the network more robust, to grow the number of transactions, because it's a sawtooth function in Bitcoin. And as the network grows, the longer between blocks, the more I earn.
Okay,
So
because
this
of
is the next
more
function.
transactions coming.
Let me
Okay.
actually grab the whiteboard and do this
Whiteboard,
properly
okay.
again. We haven't done that for a little bit.
All right.
So
That's
as we're
good too.
coming here,
Okay.
alrighty, let's put that
Okay.
there and wipe
Good.
out this.
All right.
All right, so here's our function. That's our subsidy. Can we see that okay?
Okay, yes.
So that's our subsidy over time, T. Now, what will happen is fees. So if our block is here, what will happen is this. You see how that works?
Okay, so there's a horizontal line. I assume they're meaning when a block
So there's
is
our
mined.
total. So you understand that fees are approximately random and we can assume that they're a constant rate, right? So this is a standard linear function, y equals mx plus c, high school stuff. So there's our plus c, which is our subsidy, which is diminishing. And here is our rate of time equation. Now, at time 1, at time 2, at time 3, at time, etc. Notice how in our first bit, the number of transactions there will earn there, then here, then here, then here, then see how this increases? Now, if a block hasn't been discovered for a while, the reward goes up.
Yes.
So if there is idle hash, because sometimes a party may not have enough money to be competitive, they're going to start coming and looking for this because look at the reward. It's higher than average.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what I want you to imagine is what happens if the hash rate diminishes? What happens if that guy disappears? What happens to the time between blocks?
Probably become longer.
It does. So our time was like this before, remember? Now what if our time goes into the red, which will be here? Okay. What do you think happens? So
More people.
now our time, and remember what we're earning is all of this under the line.
Okay.
So if we were here before and now we're here, we haven't only earned the additional because of the lack of miners, but each block pays more as well.
Yes. Because some hash
So
rate gets dropped.
yeah, and we start earning more per block. Now, think what this means. So if we have a system that is paying a miner offline with no Satoshis, no competition, what happens if that miner goes offline?
Okay.
Well, that guy who's been doing these secret transactions or zero fee ones or something else, nothing happens. That business just goes away. They're not robust.
Because the transactions they are accepting, it doesn't show up here as fees.
Yeah, there's no fees. So they don't build the network. Oops.
Okay.
The amount of earned fees stays low.
Okay.
Now, alternatively, if people are earning fees online, this starts to happen. Now, the important aspect of why this is so critical is over time, our function that we're talking about, we have halvings. So
okay.
Now our fees are a little bit here plus all that. And that's not too far away. And then it happens again.
Skip. Okay.
So notice what's now happened. The majority of our fees
coming from the transaction fees.
Come from transaction fees. And we're not too far away from this. So it's no good trying to do silly things now because this is what we need to work on. We need to work on transaction fees and volume and turnover. Now, the next thing is if we are talking about a token system, not an account. So we're talking about how do we add value to the system. So imagine now that it's like a musical chair type scenario.
Okay.
And these are our little chairs here. And every 10 minutes, we have to have a certain number of transactions based on available number of tokens, things we can process, etc. We want to do that for native transactions. We want to do it for tokenized goods. We want to put things on chain, Internet of Things, all of the above.
So just a quick clarification. When you say token, in this context, you mean Satoshis?
A Satoshi is a token.
Okay, that's what you mean here. It's not like some other token, a fiat or like a coupon. Nothing.
Well, no,
nothing
they're
like
just
that.
a use of a token. The tokens in Bitcoin are Satoshis.
Satoshis,
So if we have a few players out here, and we have, like now, lots of chairs, no scarcity, is there?
So each chair is almost like a single Satoshi or single token?
Yeah, imagine that's a single Satoshi that we have spare.
Okay.
It needs to move at a given time. Remember as well, if we're doing payment channels and we're doing interactions between machines or off-chain change transactions, they all require at least a single token.
Okay. Is it because when you do verification, it has to be strict larger than 0? I kind of forget. Can it be 0?
Well, it should be, yes. You can pay miners, you can do all sorts of other things to write, but there needs to be a methodology for getting fees on chain. Now,
Okay.
let's say now we have um, more red than we have Satoshis, more people wanting to use.
Hmm.
What happens?
Oh, they have to compete somehow to get the Satoshis.
Exactly. So, say these guys can go into an auction process and bid for use.
Hmm.
Comparatively, what happens if you don't require Satoshis and we allow people to just write on chain wherever they want?
You
And we
can.
can add, then there's no pressure on the system.
Hmm.
So we're not even going into the legal aspects of it now, where an account-based system is effectively a security under federal law in the US and also FCA rules in Britain. Um, Contrary to what people say, you don't need to earn dividends to be a security.
Okay.
The perfect example is Silicon Valley.
Mhm.
What dividends do Facebook pay?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Stock. Nothing.
And how about Twitter?
I don't quite remember, but Facebook, I know for sure they
Yeah,
don't.
it's very easy. Nothing.
Okay.
And how about Google?
Uh,
Nothing.
Nothing. No.
Um, so most of Silicon Valley don't have dividends. But just taking Facebook even,
Hmm.
then there's no dividends. So this idea, oh, there's no dividends, therefore it's not a share. Well, that doesn't apply, does it? So
No.
Ethereum's thing is we don't have dividends, so we're not a share.
No.
Facebook doesn't have dividends.
Hmm.
Does that mean it's not a share?
No.
Now, on a proof of stake system, where the protocol is flexible and not set, um, miners are voting on the system, correct?
Hmm.
Isn't that a vote?
Um, in
Isn't that a
Ethereum?
vote in? Yes. So in Ethereum, effectively, what you have is a security that is posing as not being a security. It's very much one.
Okay.
Now, so the aspects of what I've been saying, you need to actually maintain the scarcity because that's how Bitcoin nodes get paid, work, function. The argument is, oh, but miners could work together. How do you think miners could work together?
It's almost like I don't know, like a cartel, but usually they
It
break
is
up.
a cartel. It's called collusion.
Hmm.
So um, there's another part of that too, which is illegal. And especially when you start doing it over international boundaries and um, start applying things across countries, then you start all these problems. One of the aspects of the design of Bitcoin is miners can come and go at will.
Okay.
If you're colluding, if you have relationships, the nature of what I talked about, the resilience of the system breaks.
Why?
I was going to ask you to guess. Why do you
Oh,
think what
okay.
we just talked about? What do you think might be a requirement?
You mean what's preventing or maybe what's a disincentivizing miners to collude?
Say they're colluding. What now happens?
Um,
How does a new player come into the game?
it's
How do they make
harder.
that?
They have to
Yeah,
make
so they have to
connections.
now go over to existing nodes
Miners. Hmm.
and make a deal. Do you think those nodes with a whole lot of sort of plunder level profit are going to want to have little guys coming in and competing? Or do
No,
you think they're going to realize the other guy will come back eventually if they let him?
they probably don't want welcome new players.
So do you remember what Adam Smith said about merchants?
Uh, the the pagers and
Anytime No, not that one. Anytime a bunch of businessmen get together, they will start to collude. So the system's designed to be robust against that. It's designed to allow the system to function, even though most of the miners are going to want to make partnerships that exclude other entries.
Yes. How does okay? This is not at least straightforward because by intuition, it's just existing miners, they can just form a partnership saying any newcomers, you just don't connect. So
They can't in the way that Bitcoin's originally set up. The nature of Bitcoin is such that you have to be able to broadcast to multiple nodes, including those that you don't yet know are miners.
Okay, is this like more like a legal issue or technical or economic?
It's a bit of all the. I mean, this is why you have a gossip network, which is people argue isn't the most efficient way of doing things, but it is for the end. So we want to be able to send to everyone, and we can start working out better ways of doing that in time. But all nodes need to get the transaction. Anyone who wants to play needs to be able to get in and have the transaction, and we can't have collusion between nodes, or you can start excluding.
Okay,
we want a system that makes it really difficult to exclude, because if you can just come in and start broadcasting to the network, you're not allowed to orphan for the sake of orphaning. You can't do that sort of thing because that will cause you a whole lot of legal concerns and issues. You have to take anyone who comes into the network. That means opportunities will always arise.
Okay, just play devil's advocate here. So let's say we now have 10 miners, each is 10%. And then there's another one coming in. Okay, so when he wants to connect to all the existing miners, can I just say no? I just because that's nothing. That's not stopping me from just saying I don't want to connect to you.
Those 10 nodes need to send out to exchanges, businesses, people who run the equivalent of a complete node structure and UTXO for a business like an Amazon. Now, there might be only 10 nodes, mining nodes, but then the next layer of this network will be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people interacting with the network itself.
The overlay, right?
Yeah. So how do you tell whether one of those is a miner before they release a block?
Okay, so the issue is you don't know. It's there's no.
You don't know.
Okay.
And it's very easy to tell from the network that you had a block and that a group of miners colluded to stop it. If there's a sort of a block race, fine. But say you're 5 minutes ahead of these guys, then that's very easy to determine. And the location and the nature of the miners are very easy to determine. So it's not like all this, we can keep mining in secret. You can't.
No. Yeah, proof of work, right?
So
de-anonymized. All right.
Yep. And other parties in the network will start building information associated with the first miner's block. So you end up with a whole lot of problems. Now, if you decide then to not collude, that means it opens up opportunities for someone to come in. Now, what you mentioned was there's 10 miners, and what happens if 10% new player comes in and she is earning 10% as well? Now there's 110% of the hash power. Blocks will be discovered faster for a little bit. So in that sawtooth function, what happens if you limit the time?
I just get less reward per block.
Hmm. So you will get less reward for block and less blocks. What does that mean? It
Let's start.
lowers everyone's profitability across the entire network, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now you have a bit of a competition, a war between each of the existing players. Now, if the new miner is 10% more efficient,
Okay.
and one of the old miners is, say, 5% less efficient,
Yeah, he probably like
what do you think happens?
will be gone. Like it will be like almost because he cannot keep up. He just fall behind. Maybe he got
Hmm.
kicked out.
So how would you stop that happening?
Oh, you have to, it's like a reckoning, right? Yeah, now you have to up your game. Either better hardware
Hmm.
or
So how do you stop that from
networking.
happening? How do you always stop that from happening?
Is that possible?
It is. You can never stop running.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
It-
okay.
so you have to keep
Have
running
to.
faster and faster and faster.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sitting there. Like in Ethereum, if I've got 30% staked, what do I need to do?
Just go to the beach and chill, pretty much.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do
not
I need to build a bigger machine or move off my Raspberry Pi?
no, unless you want to. But what difference does it make? It doesn't make much difference.
Yeah. Why would you? So um, when do you think the network will upgrade in power?
Mm, no, maybe never. Maybe some of them upgrade, but doesn't
Well,
have to. No.
eventually, given Moore's law, even Raspberry Pis will be powerful because
Mm-hmm.
it's really, really difficult to buy 286 chips anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Quite often, what they do is they sell you Pentium chips and you downclock them to pretend to be a 286
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because it's actually cheaper for them to get rid of old Pentium stocks than it is to give you a proper 286 in some cases
Mm-hmm.
now. So the same thing will happen. You will end up having to have a more powerful machine just because they stop making dinky little old things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just
So, but
okay.
but do you really want the network to wait 50 years for Raspberry Pis to catch up with reality?
No, unless you're just going to play some toy, I don't know, tokens or games.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So, if we think about this for a moment, what we have now is a comparison of economic systems.
Mm-hmm.
The way that people are trying to make like Ethereum's an account-based system, there's an unlimited level of what you can create on the network.
Okay.
Don't get me wrong, the number of items on Bitcoin is quite large. It's 2.1 quadrillion.
Mm-hmm.
But remember as well, not everyone's going to be moving tokens at any point.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and you need some for payment to miners, you need some for other aspects of how the network runs.
Mm-hmm.
So, to keep the network flowing, um, information will end up being bought and sold and recycled.
Okay. Yeah, it's like almost like just cash money.
Hmm.
You.
So, as an example, um, I bought a. I mean, if you have to ignore my scenario because I'm unusual, but while I was in Australia, like over 20 years ago, I bought a first edition set of um, Charles Dickens' complete works,
Okay.
all these first editions.
Mm-hmm.
And recently, I noticed that I think it was Christie's or Sotheby's sold a first edition of A Christmas Carol, and
Okay.
it went for £385,000.
Oh. Okay.
Now, um, for me, that's actually quite a good improvement in my cost because I paid something like $1,500 So I'm not complaining. Now, this is how tokens should go up in value. If I was now able, I mean, if I was a normal person, um, I could now realize that I have a windfall that would pay off my house.
Very much.
I like Charles Dickens, but not that much.
Not
that
as
sort of thing.
much as a nice house. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these days I don't need to worry, but that's a
Okay.
different scenario. 20 years ago, I would have dumped the books and paid off the mortgage, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
in a
you just
different.
said you are not the exception. So just for average
Yeah,
Joe, I think probably
yeah.
they will.
For the average Joe, having £1 million worth of books would mean beauty. I'm retiring. But think about this for tokens. If the value of tokens goes up because people need them,
Okay.
what happens? So there'll be some people holding them as assets, some people speculating on doing futures. Like tomorrow, we think there'll be tokens needed. Not gambling, but actually creating an economy based on use. So
Just like any other commodity.
yeah, so this is where I'm trying to distinguish from HOODL. It's not just hold, it's actually use. So people will buy and sell, and the price will go up and down based on the need at a time, like commodities. So what happens with rice? If rice, for instance, has a really dry year and the harvest is low,
Just price goes up.
the price goes up. And what does that do?
Or just encourage more people to grow more rice.
And also to open up like warehouses where they might be selling it. Like futures buyers will have some of their additional assets liquidated and sold to the market, and the price will equalize, and it will come to a market equilibrium. The same thing should happen to Satoshis. Say there's a really big event and lots of people in an area want to get many sort of tokens for some reason. It could be some sort of Internet of Things device where there's a big influx suddenly. What do you think will happen?
Or just at least in the short term, the price
Goes up.
per token or Satoshi. Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think happens after that when people don't need the token anymore?
Or they will just dump it.
Yeah, and the price goes down. So there'll always be some volatility, but if you look at the value of US dollars versus pounds, what happens?
It's always fluctuates every day.
Exactly.
Foreign exchange.
So if I need to pay my bills in US dollars and I'm a large company, and I haven't got all the treasury matched right for whatever reason, then I need to buy on the short-term money market. Yes. Because I can't just go to an American company and go, well, I don't feel like changing my money. I'm going to give it to you in pounds.
They will not accept it.
Exactly. I mean, let's say I'm a Russian company and I've got rubles and I want to go to an American company and tell them, you should accept rubles because Putin thinks they're cool.
Okay.
What do you think happens?
Just no deal, nothing.
No deal. So what happens is you go out to a money market and you sell, and the price will, if you have a big enough amount to buy and sell, the price will come back into equilibrium. So that's what the tokens are designed to do.
Okay. So just want to clarify, I think a lot of people have been somehow been interested in this topic recently. So when we say zero, do we mean like a zero Satoshi output, or it means zero fee transactions?
Zero everything. Some people are going into zero everything. Now, if you're doing zero output, but paying a minor fee, you still need tokens. You're still actually putting something on chain in a coin, just you're putting extra information. Now, I don't really mind that because if you think about it, I mean, everyone's using return, but I'd prefer if people did push data, and then you can actually do better structures in code and have data defined separately and all sorts of fun things. But now, so we've got data and code. Do I really care how it's structured?
No.
No, I shouldn't. If I have more computational operations such as digital signature algorithm checks, then as a miner, I'm going to charge more. Hopefully, I mean, if they're smart. But equally, data is cheap, so that's really where it's going to vary. So if I want to do digital signature checks, I can. But it's going to cost me money. So this is why this whole concept of let's put stuff out there for free, but not low cost, but free, and not we're subsidizing the network, but free. There's a distinction because subsidy is not the same as free. Okay. When I put Bitcoin out there and gave a diminishing subsidy, 50, 25, 12 and a half, etc., the concept was not that it's free. You still had to work for it, but you work harder over time.
Okay.
So the same thing happens here with the subsidy. It effectively, if I want to grow the network and we want to chuck Satoshis at people, like people tried with the fountain, the fonts that were out there allowing free use of Bitcoin. The problem is it was done in a hoodle manner. Okay. No one was doing it. I like Gavin, but at times he's a little bit socialist in thinking. Yeah. I mean, I don't think he thinks that way, but he is. If you think about it, he was just chucking them out there to everyone with no obligation.
Right. It's like a free money, right? Donation.
Free money. What happens with free money? Nothing. So this is the problem with helicopter drops. But imagine now that we had given those tokens out to people to build. Maybe if you build an application, we will give you tokens to try running it.
Okay.
Would that be different?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, at least you get something back.
Yeah. I mean, say eventually Kelvin and myself did something like that, or myself. That would be an application. So it's going to take an investment to get on the network to have people use Satoshis. So, I mean, an example of something I could do that we'll probably end up doing in the future is giving people with applications something to get them on board. Now, that's different to just giving random people on the internet tokens for the sake of giving them tokens. And it also means the argument that, well, it's free. Well, it's free enough.
Is this what you mean when you wrote the post saying there should always be some transactions that you charge a zero fee just to incentivize the
I've
usage?
Correct. And also for consolidation. Say someone has a whole lot of transactions that they want to consolidate.
Yes.
Say there's a business even, and they are doing tokens and they're all on single Satoshi amounts. Now that's going to be a cost to the miners. Say they've got 1 billion customers and each of them has one Satoshi token. That's 1 billion UTXO entries.
Yes.
So is that going to be cheap in hardware?
Not.
No, it's going to have a non-negligible cost to every miner on the network.
Yes.
So is it a good idea for miners to effectively subsidize that transaction and merge it like when the, like for instance, tickets all come back, should that person be able to, running that company, merge them back into a single coin, waiting for next time, rather than leaving them out there as single Satoshis?
Yeah, I think that's what
And
already happening in Bitcoin history. If you some of
yeah,
they have some criteria. If you are consolidating or merging some scattered small amount of UTXOs, you can a lot of times you can get it for free.
exactly. And if you put zero value transactions in that other transaction aggregation, like what you do is write extra extraneous information going, this guy is sending nothing to this guy. I don't care, because big deal. You're reducing the cost of the network, you're making it more efficient, you're lowering the requirements for hardware. Eh, good.
Okay.
Who cares? And you could argue, oh, but you're not reducing it perfectly because you've got this other marker information. So what? It's not about perfection. It's about resilience and robustness. If people want to do their business different ways, good. So there's a difference between 0 Satoshis to 0 Satoshis to someone sending a transaction with no mining fees, or even making markers but sending miners fees.
Okay. So I just
If
want
I'm,
to be clear. You think all these are legitimate uses?
yeah, as long as there is a token exchange,
What do you mean by this?
as long as it involves a real Satoshi or more.
Okay. What if just play devil's advocate here? What if in these three cases, I think people also talk about now almost like doing direct deals with miners to sign some contract, and they may not even involve Satoshis, just pay them, I don't know, fiat. Is that
So
how's that model?
how are you broadcasting to the network?
Oh, you mean they will be rejected because of the relay fee
Well,
threshold
yeah.
has not reached?
So what's section 5 of the paper? What do nodes do?
Broadcast transactions?
Yeah. So what happens if you now start having large amounts of, I mean, if it's small amounts, in game theory, in biological game theory, a small amount of parasitism is not a problem. And that's what it is. But what happens if that particular node gets DDoSed?
Let's just assume all he's getting is zero fee transactions. He just receive it out of bound, almost like a fiat. Then nothing, according to the, at least for the block reward.
So how about the customers?
They are affected. Then
yeah, are they robust? Are they going to get onto the network no matter what?
no, because other miners they don't have deals with, so they will reject their transaction.
So as another miner, I can prune transactions. Especially things like op return type ones that have no ongoing value. Tell me why I wouldn't want to instantly prune all these transactions and never broadcast them or never let anyone see them.
You can? No. You can.
What incentive do I have for it? What incentive do I have for if someone wants to query that part of the network to give it to them?
No.
Can you force me to?
No. That's the whole point, right?
Exactly. So I mentioned unilateral contracts. Now, let me walk you through this one as a simple example. A unilateral contract is an offer to the world or something similar. So I've made a unilateral contract. I've told people, this is the network, it won't change. And when I said the Bitcoin network is set in stone, that's part of the contract. Ethereum is different. Ethereum have promised a network that will change every time someone has a bad sort of egg roll and or it rains.
Okay. Yeah.
If it rains on a
Yeah.
Tuesday, then Ethereum will probably change. That sort of level. That's part of their standard operating procedure. Um, oh, look, it's raining. We better redo the code and make everyone incompatible. Their choice. I don't like that model.
Yeah.
We'll compete. I'm happy to.
Yeah.
Now, think about how this works. I've got a unilateral contract. I put a poster on the wall saying, if you find my dog and return it, I will give you £100. I don't like it terribly much, but I want to make it look like the kids are getting their dog back. There you go.
Okay. 100. Not the best dog, but anyway.
Can I force people to go and get my dog?
No.
So that's the beauty of a unilateral contract. People can come and go. Now, if 10 people all seek my dog and only one of them finds it and brings it back, what right do the other 9 have against me?
Nothing. It's like
nothing.
10 miners. They all want to find the next block. Only one of them find it, but the rest 9, they just have to. That's nothing.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. So now it happens that I just have 10 dogs, and I've got a contract saying if you return these one after the other in order, because it's a weird thing, and I only want the dogs returned in order. Otherwise, you don't get your money. What happens now if I bring back dog number 10 and I haven't even got another dog back first?
You have to. You don't get paid now, at least.
You don't get paid. So this is the whole point with unilateral contracts. They are an ongoing set of rules and behaviors that, well, allows me to set some options for people to compete. If people want to, they can stop. If, say, it's 6 o'clock and someone's been looking for my dog for 5 hours and they say, I'm going to go off and have dinner, what can I do?
Nothing.
Exactly. If a miner has been searching for a block and hasn't found one and has been trying for a month and decides, screw it, I'm not going, I'm no longer competitive, what rights do I have to force them to mine?
Nothing.
If 100 miners all try and earn Bitcoin and don't earn a cent, what rights do I have? Too bad for them. It's good for me too, because these guys now cannot sue me unless I do something like screwing up the network, like BTC does.
Okay. Interesting.
Yes. So notice how this works now. The system is not just about crypto, as everyone keeps putting out. Bitcoin's not a cryptographic system. It's an economic system that uses cryptographic algorithms. So if there are 4 nodes and they're all colluding, how many real nodes do I have?
1?
Yes.
Okay.
If all of those nodes are now colluding, and they're stopping new entrants, and they're controlling more than 50% of the network, what happens if someone wants to try and come into the network?
They got rejected by them, but
say these colluding entries have 75% of the network hash power. There's 4 of them, and they don't care about the small guys. What can they do?
They can, if they want, they can reject the new minus block.
And what happens then?
They keep all the revenues to themselves, the block fees to themselves.
So they basically force the other small players out. Now, if there's a small player who's really efficient and they've only they've got, say, 20% of the network hash power, but they've got a whole lot of other things that make 30% of profit.
Okay.
Will that be adopted by the 75%?
Adopted, you mean
Will
let the guy
the
join?
75% spend money upgrading their servers to be more efficient?
Yeah, otherwise they lose the shares. Right?
Yes, that's how Bitcoin works. But what if they're colluding?
Oh, they don't have to. They don't.
No. So all they do is they sit there together and go, this guy's out.
Mm-hmm. They just reject all his blocks.
Yeah. Do they earn any more money by making it more efficient?
No.
Exactly. So the only way they make more money by making more efficiency is to not have collusion, to not allow miners to interact in the way that people are saying. That, hey, what if we make deals? What if there's deals between the miners to pay each other? What happens if there are deals between the existing miners to pay each other?
Nothing. They are not earning more. Is that what you say?
Well, yeah. So if, say, 50% of the network is now these fiat deals, and you want to pop up and be a new miner, how do you become part of that deal?
Mm-hmm.
You have to get a lawyer, you have to go out and make agreements and meet with all the other miners and basically do old-fashioned type contractual negotiations, buy some of their percentage of hash power like you would do in proof of stake, and negotiate your way into the network.
Mm-hmm.
Does that sound like how Bitcoin works?
It doesn't. But what's preventing that from happening?
Well, right now there is no collusion. There's no payment by fiat.
Okay.
So any collusion is detectable when it's on chain. Bitcoin is completely traceable. People can analyze it. They can look at the movement of coins. They can look at any sort of deals that are being done between miners.
Okay. So what happens if those miners they start to collude, almost like a rare fiat? So you cannot. There's no on-chain trace.
Well, there won't be an on-chain trace, but there will always be ways around, and people have this habit of not being terribly secret.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
people will find out. And what do you think happens when people know that there's collusion?
They probably don't like this, at least the blocks from this group of miners.
So did you see the European Union case against, what do you call it, Amazon recently?
Okay. Is it antitrust or what is this?
It's antitrust, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of money Google had to pay out. Probably don't really care because they're rich, but that money is now lost.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't open up and they don't, then other things will start happening. And they'll, like, there are now bills being looked at in America to break up Google and break up Facebook and start shattering them in little bits.
So that's what how you see by law you can prevent this kind of almost like a monopoly
I mean,
or cartel in minor.
yes, I mean, there will actually be lawyers out there looking for any hint.
Okay.
So, how much money is involved in Bitcoin and associated cryptocurrency wannabe things mining?
I don't know, billions.
Exactly. And if you could get a large share of that and maybe even indemnity costs and profit, and sometimes 4 or 5 times the amount of revenue at the extreme, and you're a lawyer, does that sound interesting?
Of course, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is the whole thing. It's a system that now is open for people to come in there and investigate. And this is a key aspect as well. This is why it has to be public. Everyone can see it. Everyone can analyze it. So can you see where transactions from miners go?
Yes. Transaction, yes.
Can you trace, can you trace information, data, and money going between miners?
Yeah, if you spend, I mean, it's all like economics, right? If you really want to do like a old detective work, yeah, you can.
And do you think people will do that?
I think, yeah, if I'm a lawyer or something, I want to find, you know,
I'm
just
sure they'll stick
business
to
opportunities.
paralegal looking at all this, yeah.
Some of them unpaid interns, so it's even better.
Yeah.
So you think that's going to happen? That's what
I think that will definitely happen. And the fun thing with everything being out there in the open and public is it means you have to be honest.
Okay.
So
even
if
you use fiat, I mean, because of the nature of the de-anonymization, everybody eventually will know. So that's also what's keep cartels from forming.
Well, you right now have to transfer large amounts of money, and you have to account for it all. So the problem, if you want to have fiat secret between miners, it means a lot of accounting. And if you have a lot of accounting, like you do in OPEC and other things, then eventually people start breaking ranks and people start dobbing people in, and then you have all this evidence. So all those records become evidence, and that's why they have indemnity type level costs, and that will actually be probably cheaper in the future because they won't need to punish as hard. But right now, collusion gets punished hard.
Okay, yeah, I just want to play devil's advocate here, but what if I'm almost imagine people will always, at least on Twitter, they were just now making a claim saying like a Bitcoin is supposed to be, you know, free market, and now you are trying to introduce the government to, you know, at least break up a monopoly or.
Sorry, so one, free market requires government. Sorry, there's no anarchy in free market. There's no such thing as a libertarian system without a market. Never has been. That mythology is just bullshit. There have been tribal leaders. There's no such thing. Ever. There's no barter, there's no exchange that ever happens in human history outside of rules.
Yeah, what if some people argue like you want to have a minimum government intervention, right? If that's a free market solution.
A system like Nozick, and good. But minimum government has contractual rules.
So you're saying, I could imagine.
There's no libertarian system, even Rothbard, that does not have courts and rules.
Yeah, I agree on this part. What I'm saying is that now you are saying if some miners, they want to do some kind of like private deals, and somehow if it gets too big, people think that that's a
But there is no private deal. They're breaking the rules.
Oh, because that's a part of the rule. You cannot.
It's a part of the rules. You are.
Okay.
You are coming and going in the system. There are. If you want to form a single miner and merge, then go for it. But then you're a single miner.
Okay. Okay.
So I mean, if you're doing all these little under the table deals, then you're not broadcasting all your transactions, are you? If you're holding blocks, you're not broadcasting your transactions. So again, all these scenarios are breach of contract, and even in a world of Nozick type Rothbardian system where there are very few government controls, contractual law can be taken into courts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Even
that part.
in the most.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So what you're saying is, what if I think even now, not maybe not. If what if I'm some miner, I just want to get some deal with somebody, like some application, they're pumping a lot of transactions. I just have some private deal. Is that a breach of contract, or and he's
Private
paying
deal
me
for what? Sorry.
in fiat?
Well, are you? I mean, if you're putting those transactions out on the network and allowing other miners to see them, and you're not hiding them and doing some sort of shonkiness, then who cares?
What if I'm
you're making,
just keeping them to myself, right? I want to earn the
then
exclusive
you're
fees.
stupid and you're going to find yourself orphaned.
Okay, that's the economic part. It's not the.
Yeah.
It's not the, breaking the law at least. You can,
Well,
but it's not
most
going
of
to
this
hurt
is
you.
breaking the law. It's contract, but it'll still hurt you because other miners will rightly be able to start just ignoring you.
Okay, because they discover a lot of your transactions doesn't show up in their mempool. You just come in the block.
And from a legal point of view, if you started building these things outside of the rules of the system, then someone will eventually call that a cyber attack and saying that you're flooding the network to attack it all at once. And they could probably rightly have you shut down.
Okay.
And your machine seized and you go out of business. So still not a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something I find not easy to grasp, because sometimes it's just pure for technical reasons. You cannot do X and Y, but sometimes it's economic, and sometimes it's law. It's it's all like
well,
sometimes it's
there's
because
economics in all of it. I mean, there's economic aspects of all of it, but sometimes it's easier to explain it using the legal contractual areas.
So okay, I think I always have this questions, and people also raise. I find is a interesting one. Because we just compare like a proof of work and proof of stake, and proof of work has an incentive to keep upgrading. What people also said this about the so-called, I think you probably heard about the delegated proof of work state, because they are voting some validators. So if some validator is doing good work, people are going to vote more to him. Is that what's the issue with what's that? Because they also have to be doing good work.
Because, well, no, they don't, because you still end up with, that's trying to say that we're actually 100,000 people when they're really one. Most of that is, we're really a group, we're not one person. So it's people like Vitalik who have half the network trying to argue that they're not half to the network. Okay, remember, if I'm Vitalik, I can split my coins into 100,000 blocks. Delegated proof of work now lets me vote as one voting block across all those little coins. And I can go, look, lots of people are voting. Guess what? It's still Vitalik.
Yeah, and you cannot detect whether it's just one person or it's just I don't know, 1 million person. You don't know.
Statistically, you would be able to do analysis, but it would take time and effort. And the reality is, anyone who controls large amounts of an asset needs to report it. So, I mean, most of these guys are just completely in breach of existing securities and exchange laws.
Yeah, I think now it's much clearer, because even your delegate, you cannot differentiate delegate with just pure proof of stake. You cannot tell, because they can do the same thing.
Yeah. So all this is about how do we hide and keep doing our shonky BS. Anyway, at that point, we should probably end again. We're a little bit over, but and we didn't get onto all the topics I was originally going to cover. But
it always happens.
Hopefully, that clears up something for people.
Yeah, I think this episode will be interesting for a lot of people, because there have been, for whatever reason, suddenly the zero output and zero Satoshi has been debated recently or argued.
But I mean, the silly thing is you don't need a lot. You could have Alice send a token to Alice. If a miner is willing to accept a zero fee transaction, then fine. But I mean, it has to be a token transfer.
Okay.
Part of the scarcity is the tokens.
What? Okay. So either you are putting. So what if I'm just signing some contract deal with some miners? I just send the zero fee and also zero output in one transaction. Does this is this
Well,
okay?
no, it has to have a token. Bitcoin is a token exchange system. If there's no tokens, it's not an exchange. It's not a transaction.
But right now, this kind of transaction will be accepted. No,
It shouldn't be.
at least by some of the miners.
It shouldn't be.
Okay. Because
miners are accepting transactions. They're not meant to be creating them that way.
Okay, because there's no Satoshi in the whole transaction, either fee or output, so that's considered as bad.
That is considered evil.
Okay.
That is considered bad enough that legal action may ensue, and they will find themselves not working for years, going through a whole lot of BS.
Okay. Because for a lot of people, you just look at at least for the node software. I haven't checked all the data, but I think the node software does not reject it. But you are saying this is not because of the technical reason.
If people write things, node software doesn't set protocol.
Okay.
If I miscode something in Windows and there's a buffer overflow, that doesn't mean it's meant to be there.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, you don't get to sit there and go, I can do it, therefore it's right.
Okay. Can you just try one more time, like why this is bad? Because it's creating.
It's a token exchange system. No, it's a token system. It's not an account system. And I don't give a shit whether people want Ethereum. They can go to Ethereum. It's not right. It's not a commodity. It's not what I created. I have zero interest in it.
Okay.
I just spent an hour going over. It fucks up the entire economic structure of Bitcoin. Not fucks it up. It gets elephant fucking cock and mouse size something and just rips it apart.
Okay.
It's wrong. I consider it an attack on the damn network, and I will eventually take action if people keep doing it.
Okay. All right. That's a good summarize. I think it's
as in to the point where I would have miners investigated under Chinese bloody rules for a network attack, which I could define.
Okay. Yeah, that hopefully
so
just give
a single Satoshi transaction is a single Satoshi transaction. I don't care if you do that. It has to have a token. No token, not a token-based exchange.
So the token mindset can either be in the output or pay in some in the form of fees, but at least one of them has to be present.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's an exchange of tokens. You can put it to anyone can pay, anyone can send, anyone can, etc. It can go from Alice to the miner. It can go Alice to Alice. Don't care. But there's no such thing as a zero value nothing thing. That will not keep going.
Okay. Even you are like doing private deals, but that's not good. Okay.
There's no attacking the damn network. If you keep attacking the network, I'll do cybercrime legislation against you.
Okay. All right.
That is attacking. It's very simple. Bitcoin is a token exchange system. It exchanges coins. It is not just a how do we write data in small cartels system.
Okay. Yeah, that's
it is open broadcast of transactions.
Okay. All right.
All that's rather clear in the white paper. It would take me that to have a bunch of bloody feds run into someone's house and knock down a freaking miner's equipment because they would love to if you give them the excuse that simple. So This one's a really stupid one. It's fucking up Bitcoin long term. I don't care about miners wanting to make a small additional profit at everyone else's expense. That's not what the system's about. Miners earn a contract.
Mm-hmm.
If they do this outside of the rules, then they're breaching contract.
And there are legal consequences. Okay.
Yes. And I've already proven myself litigious enough to take action. So.
So hopefully.
And I don't want to have to. It's very simple. Put a single damn Satoshi in the damn thing, and I don't care.
Okay.
Make it. You don't even need to spend value. It is a token exchange system. Alice can pay 1 Satoshi to Alice, and it is fine.
Yeah, at least
there are still limitations on that. Alice cannot pay no transactions because then there is no limitations.
Yeah, I think that some people also brought up this long-term objectives. I think it's if you just kind of almost like inflate the UTXOs, some economics.
But there are no UTXOs.
Okay.
What the fuck are you holding it for? There are no UTXOs. UTXO is a coin. A zero value thing is not a UTXO.
It's like somebody give me a bill is a zero denomination, but it's not a bill.
So what do? You prune it. It's a non-existent thing.
Okay.
No coin, no UTXO.
Okay. What if some people just say I put zero output, but I put some like a data there? Does that change anything?
Don't give a shit. No coin, no use.
Okay.
Don't put coin in, don't get to play. Very simple.
You said that means that you can get pruned.
If there's not an exchange of a token, you have not made a valid transaction, you are attacking the network, you're a scumbag, stop.
Okay. I think that's
miners who are cheating and doing things to make extra money will find that they're going to have problems.
Okay, yeah, that seems a very strong message. I think for anybody who's watching, hopefully you pay attention.
What is the cost of 1 Satoshi?
Very, very low, almost. And especially you talk about you can send it to yourself, right? You don't have to.
Exactly. So very easy.
No cost. Okay. Yeah, that's. I think that's a.
It's a competitive system. If you don't like that, find something else.
Okay. Yeah.
Go to Ethereum. That's my answer. Very simply.
Okay.
It scales because of competition. Miners will take zero fee to grow the system. That's not an issue. Small transactions, not an issue, but it needs to be done correctly. There needs to be a token exchanged. Just because people can go around and find holes and break things doesn't mean that it's going to be valid. It doesn't mean that it won't get pruned.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's probably the main message, at least for people to do.
All right.
Who have been arguing about this, to check it out. So.
Read my white paper. It's a token exchange system. You have coins that are minted with tokens from the miners that are then transferred, not zero.
Yes.
All right.
All right. I think that's a lot of content for today. So I will see you in a month. Right. Next episode. Okay. Take care.
Alrighty.
Enjoy.
All right.
Enjoy.
You too.
Okay.
Catch you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.